So what's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. My name's Ray. I'm a guitar player here on YouTube, but I also have with me a very special guest here on the channel, AJ Good from the House of Masks. AJ, what's going on, man?
How's it going?
Welcome to my channel. I think is this the first time? No, second time you're on my channel. First time was Break Stuff, right?
Yep, you're right.
So everybody, AJ's on the verge of hitting 100K. At the time of this filming, he's like 4,500. So if you could please be so kind, head over to the House of Masks and subscribe to his channel. I'll put the link down below. Very educational and very informative channel. Everything from horror movies to theatrical bands. So just a really awesome, interesting, and unique channel. So please go ahead over there and subscribe to his channel. But basically today I wanted to have him on here, kind of like a part interview, but more or less just like a hangout conversation of about theatrical bands and why they're so important to us, because you know, he is definitely the biggest fan of theatrical music that I know, and I'm also like the biggest fan that I know in my immediate, circle here in Philadelphia. So I figured we would just, sit down, hang out for a couple minutes and just talk about it and just explain why we love theatrical music and theatrical bands. So if you could start, I would want to know, I've heard this story a million times because I'm your friend and I know this, but if you could please just one more time tell the story of the first time you found your favorite band and what exactly you were doing. Just tell that story one more time because it's very important to your entity, I guess.
Yeah, this one's ingrained in my brain. I will say that I discovered West Borland before Slipknot, so that was my first taste of theatrical music. And with that being said, I was always scouring Rolling Stone magazines for like Limp Bizkit pictures, and they were really good about including Limp Bizkit in their stuff. Essentially, my grandma owned this salon. She always had Rolling Stones sent to that salon just for the people to read. So I would take them and I would scour them for stuff. And one day I was flipping through and I'll never forget like turning to this one-page article about Slipknot and seeing half the page was just each member in its own little square against this wood-paneled wall, and just something about all of it, like the way that they were posed and the masks that they had on and their jumpsuits. And then like I was 6, so I'm trying to read this article where they're like talking about how liberating it is to set each other on fire and stuff, and I'm like, I don't know what any of this means, but Mom, can I please watch a music video? And she got on Yahoo Launch. I like to bring that up because I feel like only old school people are going to remember that one.
It certainly dates the story. Like every time you tell the story, you're like, oh, by the way, I was on Yahoo Launch.
Yahoo Launch. That was the big thing back then. So yeah, she watched Wait and Bleed and told me I was allowed to watch it, and I watched the shit out of it. And that's it. The rest is history.
And then, yeah, that's like I just love that story because like you tell it the same way every time. It's like you've got it memorized.
I guess I should
pat.
talk about how I got the mask that same day, right?
If you want, I was gonna, before we get there, I would like to know, because I don't think you've ever told this story. What made you, and like, who was your first introduction to a theatrical artist? Was it in fact West Borland?
Had to be. Yeah, absolutely.
And why were you attracted to West Borland as a 5/6-year-old kid? Like, what was it about him that made you like, I'm obsessed with this. I really want to know more about this.
I don't know. I had dabbled a little bit a few years prior with horror movie stuff. Like my grandpa finally like let me watch a Halloween movie with him. And so like Michael Myers was pretty fresh on the brain, and obviously I liked that. But then I remember staying the night with my cousin who was a lot older than me. Like he was about to go into the military. So I'm like 5 or 6 and like following his every move or whatever. And we woke up one day. I'd stayed the night at his house, and Nookie came on their little kitchen TV or whatever, and I liked hip-hop stuff, so to hear like these weird noises and like DJ stuff, and then all of a sudden there's West Borland in makeup, and like there was just really something captivating about that. And then obviously that led to other ventures. Just I don't know, it's one of those things that I can't explain, but I knew that it probably changed my life, and it obviously did.
Yeah, I would certainly agree to that. But now you have the ability and the means and the, cognitive thought process to look back on that. Would you go as far to say like theatrical bands and theatrical musics grab your attention because it's like it's an extra step and an extra effort into their art. Like they're presenting another thing to their audience. Would that be a fair assumption?
Yeah, absolutely. It's as an artist and like someone that's been drawing and stuff as long as I can remember, like since I could pick a pencil up, it's almost like these people with gimmicks don't get taken as serious because they have these extra things. But to me, it's like they should be taken more serious because they are taking the time and the effort to apply something else. Like a performance is a performance. Why would you not want to be captivated by every sense possible? So, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. It's like, you know, there's no disrespect to any band, any guitar player, any musician out there, but there's a million dudes and girls out there that look similar to what we look like right now, like backwards hat, black, you know, band tee, whatever, like, and that's fine. But like, especially as the internet continues to get more and more saturated, for me, it's like, if you have a look, if you have an appearance, if you have a niche, if you have a character that you've created, I'll give you a chance. Like I'll at least entertain. You have my attention. Now it's up to you to like to grab me. Whereas like if you see a band that looks like every other band, and you know, for the past 5-10 years, it's like, for me, it's no disrespect to those musicians. They may be talented and great songs, but it's like, how do you stand out? Like how do you stand out? You have to do something, in my opinion. Like, don't you think that's fair?
Right. Yeah. I have this guitarist friend he's been in bands ever since I can remember, and he's a super good friend of mine, but he just can't stand theatrical music. He doesn't understand it. He doesn't think that it's cool or entertaining or whatever. And I tried to pick his brain when we worked together a couple years ago, and I was just like trying to figure out what he didn't like, and he thinks it's like phony or whatever. And I was like, John, like I've seen you play 1,000 times in my life, and I've also seen you practice. I said, at practice, you don't headbang, like you're not moshing. Like I've seen you go into the crowd and do stuff. Like you don't do that when you practice. And he's like, well, no. And I was like, why? Because you want to put on a show? And he's like, yeah, you got a point. Like there is theatrics to almost everything if you think about it. And I don't know why sometimes it just gets so much hate for someone to wear makeup or a mask. Like, I don't know.
I think that's a good segment, because this year in 2020, I don't know if it was because of quarantine or what, but you know this, like I made a decision to like, all right, I'm going to embrace where I came from, late 90s, early 2000s. I want to start having certain looks and or gimmicks, if you will, with my own videos. Like I want to look a certain way because I think it's fun and I think it's cool. And the amount of positivity I personally got was astounding, but unfortunately, the negativity was like astronomical and still is to this day. And I think I would like for you to speak on that, because, you know, you're a musician yourself, but you're also many things. And like you have your own custom mask and you have your own entity and your own look as well. Like, why do you think theatrics and artists that have a look get hated on? Like, if you could just figure it out right now on the spot, what do you think it would be?
I'd like to give you the easy answer of like it's jealousy, but I really do think that a lot of people that hate on that have no interest in looking like that. And I just think it comes back to the whole like people don't like what they don't understand, and I think that comes back to a lot of anything, prejudice. I don't want to get all like political, but like religion, politics, like. Any amount of hate can always almost always be traced back to like you just don't get it and you haven't taken the time to get it, so therefore it's wrong. And yeah, I think that there's some jealousy, and then there's also just fear of the unknown type thing. I
would say more just my own personal experience. I just think I would say it's more just jealousy, and the fact that like, I don't know, when you dress up a certain way, you're kind of making the statement like you don't really care what people think. Like this is what I think is cool. This is what you think is cool, and like this is it. Take it or leave it. And I think there's something, you know, empowering of like not caring what other people think and not trying to appease to the trends of the day, and kind of come up with your own thing, or at the very least be inspired from other outside instances and making it your own. I think that's empowering to not care what people think. And I think people view that as like, man, I wish I could not care, or I wish I could get on stage and be like covered in fake blood, or, you know, have like a big giant headpiece or whatever. Like, or I don't know. Do you think I'm onto something there? Like,
oh yeah,
would you agree with that?
And I think that door swings both ways too, because if it is legitimate jealousy and there's like no ifs, ands, or buts about it, you can have someone that's so jealous that they just despise you and they hate everything about you, or they want to be you. And I'm almost positive, since the guitar community is a lot larger than the mass community, you have probably experienced your own brand of Stay Metal Ray clones. I don't know if that's for certain or not, but it's really touchy with the horror stuff, because there's no like shadow of a doubt if someone else is copying someone else word for word or whatever, and that's happened a lot to me too. So jealousy drives a lot of people in this type of stuff, because what we are interested in is somewhat childish. If you think
it's
about
very,
it.
dude, it's like my 9, sorry to cut you off, it's me being 9, 10, 11, 12 years old,
Yeah.
forever up here as my body continues to age. It's like, and the more I dive into it, like, you've been doing this way before me, and I look up to you for that, and I mean that seriously. Like, I look up to what you do. No worries, man. But like, the more I dive into it and be like, dude, I'm obsessed with Michael Myers, I'm obsessed with Jason, I'm obsessed with Slipknot, I'm obsessed with Wes Borland, I'm obsessed with old school Mudvayne. Like, that's just me, man. Like, the little kid in me will never die, and the older I get, the more I realize, like, man, I'm gonna go soon. Like, sooner and a lot. Like, you know, as you get older, you realize, fuck, man, like, I'm gonna die way sooner than I thought I was going to. So I'm gonna enjoy myself, and like, I'm gonna embrace what I love, and I look up to you because you do that very, very well.
Thank you. Yeah, it's all nostalgia driven. Like, you can still find cool new stuff that's actively happening or whatever, but at its core, it is taking something that is the best memory of your life and just wanting that forever. So yeah, totally nostalgia driven.
Absolutely. And now, with, you know, getting a little bit back towards music and theatrics, you have a very acquired taste of theatrics. There's good theatrics and bad theatrics. I don't know how much I'm putting you on the spot. This isn't like pre-recorded questions, but like,
Yeah.
what makes a good theatrical artist and what makes a bad theatrical artist? Is it the music first and then the look, or is it look first, or is it both?
I think it's equal, because I've seen, I don't know. Man, you did put me on the spot. That's a hard one.
I just came up with it on the spot.
I can't say that there's a cool band that looks cool and sounds cool, or like looks dumb and sounds dumb. I don't even know if what I'm saying right now makes sense. Like, Mushroomhead looks dumb most of the time and sounds dumb. And Hollywood Undead looks dumb and sounds dumb. The only one that I can almost guarantee almost everyone's agreed with when they first heard him was Ghost. Like, they looked really cool, and then you heard him and you were like, eh.
Yeah, that was me. I was like, oh man, what a letdown, because they looked terrifying, and it was like, is this the same?
Even the first time I heard him, I let him go for like 3 months, because I saw him, was like, oh, this is gonna be brutal, and then I heard him and was like, oh, okay. So
I thought there was two bands with the name Ghost, and I had them like mixed up. I thought like I wasn't listening to the scary Ghost music, and like I was listening to poppy Ghost. But yeah, I resonate with the more creepy side of things, and the more like incorrect, like, how do I put this? I'll give you, like, I don't like Marilyn Manson's music, but I love Marilyn Manson's looks. Like, I think
same exact thing.
he's a genius. I think he's a genius. Like, when he dresses up as like a woman and he's a man. There's nothing, again, not taking it on face value. Like, it initially looks unsettling. Let's be real, it does. But like, that's what made him so iconic and famous, because he was an originator at that. And like, he's not a very talented musician, objectively, in my opinion, but his look and his persona and his entity is what got him famous. And so, like, I think for me, it's all about the look first, because like 90% of the time when it's a theatrical band, they want you to see them first. You know what I mean? And I think theatrics takes precedence, especially in that genre.
Yeah, I think that's almost not even an opinion. I think that's like a pretty logical explanation because even like if you apply it to like dating somebody, like the first thing you notice is their appearance. You know right then whether or not you're interested in like knowing them further. So I think with music, that's the same thing. Like if you see something and you're like, holy crap, like that looks sick. Now I want to hear the music.
Why do you think, I would think generally speaking, the idea of being theatrical has certainly diminished extensively. And do you ever think it'll resurge? And do you ever think you'll take it seriously again? Or do you think you're kind of stuck in the late 90s, early 2000s? Like, do you ever think there'll be a resurgence of like 99, 2000 and be that cool again? Or do you think that's set sail? There's no right answer. I was just curious.
I almost don't want there to be, because I feel like the reason that it was so special is because we just got this flash in the pan of cool shit. And I do think that there is hope. Like, I'm still finding stuff pretty regularly. Like, you know that I'm crazy about Batushka. This clowncore stuff that's just kind of started taking off. Like, I know they've been around for a minute, but honestly, like, I really, really enjoy it. And that's one where they're not even, it's like they look not cool on purpose, and that makes it cool. Like, there's just something about that. But
right.
I partially don't want it to be. I partially have hope because of other acts that I've found in the last few years. And I also, I think that not being a trendy thing makes it a little harder for bands to just be able to do that. Like, there's a reason that Slipknot is still around right now and still on top of the theatrical music game. It's like they worked harder than everybody. They like punched their way into everything, every media. And I don't want 4 million mushroom heads running around when we could just have 10 solid theatrical bands. So I feel like the ones that do it right and put in the work are the ones that are going to be around anyways.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that. I don't know. I'm a guitar player, so like I feel like there's I'm telling you what you already know. I don't know why I said that, but like
you're a guitar player.
I'm jigs up. I'm a guitar player. No, but seriously, like I see trends in music in general, but especially with the guitar. Like shredding guitar made a huge comeback ever since Instagram and YouTube really took off. Like everybody's a shredder, but my hope is, and what I think is going to happen, is I think shredding's going to die again. Like in the 80s, it was huge. And I'm hoping like the 90s comes back, and then I'm hoping like a new metal wave comes back. And I'm hoping like there's some resurgence of like theatrics not being so perfect on the guitar, you know, playing a million miles an hour. That's impressive, but that's not something I aspire to be, and that's not something what I listen to. I'm really hoping there's like a resurgence of like 90s metal, and I think that'd be really cool if that happened, because for you, I think you would be like in a weird kind of way like the forefront of that, like unofficially. Like I say that, I mean, I'm your friend, but like I mean that, man. Like you're doing something really cool and really unique, and I'm hoping that like I could see it coming back and being accepted in a weird way very, very soon. I don't know, I could be way off, but I think there is hope, and I think it's going to happen. I really do. History repeats itself.
Let me clarify. The reason that I said that I almost hope that it doesn't happen is because I've seen throughout the course of my life like reunion shows with specific bands, or like the WWE will try to bring back the Attitude Era, and it's always like a flop, and it's kind of embarrassing. It's like sequels of movies. It's like, why didn't you just leave it alone, or remakes or whatever? That is where like my negative connotation of like trying to rebirth something that was already perfect lies. So that's the only reason I said that. Okay,
I misunderstood. I'm talking about like new acts. I'm not talking about like old reunions. I'm talking about like new people.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm worried about. Is it's hard for me to imagine comparing something to like Mudvayne LD50 or like Ozfest footage of Slipknot. Like, how does it get better than that? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I don't think it ever will get better, but I think it will come back.
Yeah. And, well, I'm down with that, especially after you saying all that nice stuff about me.
Well, I don't mean to like put you on the spot or on, you know, on a pedestal. But I'm just serious, man. I think there's a huge market, and I think as the mass community grows, like that was extremely niche until you and a few others came along. You know, I think that's going to continue to grow. The horror community's huge. I think like there's all these underground people that like love theatrics, whether it's mask making, mask collecting, gore effects, you know, all that stuff, cosplaying. And then like, why can't music be linked into all that? And I really see it. It may not be huge, but I really see it like taking off again in the very near future. And like, I want to be a part of that. I really do. And I hope it does happen, man. So I don't know. That's just like my own little fantasy of like where I see the music genre going, man. I don't know if it'll happen though.
You're willing it into the world right now, so
is there, after everything we just hashed out, is there anything else you want to say, like in regards to like theatrical bands, anything to add to what we discussed, like that we haven't already kind of hashed out at all?
I don't think so. I wish that more people would have the gall to do it. I guess if you're semi interested in it and you want to try it, like it can't hurt.
I will say I just wish it sounds so silly, but I just wish everybody could get along, man. Like, dude, like there's so much, like just with everything on the internet, there's so much hate, and theatrical bands get so much hate. It's like, why do you have the need to be so negative to somebody just like on face value just having fun, dude?
Right.
Like, it's like for theatrical bands, like even another one we didn't talk about, Motionless in White, kind of a newer band, does theatrics. I'm not really a huge fan,
right?
But they are big. But like, it's just like on face value, like they're some of the nicest people, you know. Any of the theatrical bands for the most part are just good people, man. I just want to have fun and like dress up and like not take the world so seriously, man. And it's just like it bums me out that like there's so much hate for people just like wanting to do cool things and like, you know, dress up for whatever, as opposed to like, you know, going to a cubicle from 9 to 5 and like doing life that way. Like I don't understand why it's so looked down upon. I just wish that was not the case, man. Yeah, I really do.
No, absolutely.
Anyway, man, I really appreciate you coming on here and just talking theatrical bands and giving some insight, because I wish I could have these conversations, you know, with you more often, man. So you're welcome back anytime. And I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate you so much, dude.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm stoked to finally legitimately be on Ray's channel. I'm not just in a music video now.
I'll talk to you soon, all right, brother?
Cool. Thank you, man.
All right. See you guys later.